Beefy Marketing Podcast.
Andrew, man, you and I, we've known each other. I met you at the Committed Mastermind event in Cancun.
In Cancun, man, yeah.
We had many awesome conversations. So
Yes.
I'm happy to see you here.
Yeah, man. Excited.
How's your conference been so far?
It's great, man.
Having fun?
So great, yeah.
I know you're speaking today.
Speaking today.
You got some knowledge bombs you're going to drop.
Excited, man. I'm very excited. Yeah.
Well, for those of people who kind of don't know your story, could you just tell us a little bit about your story, your history, and like how you got your start in marketing? And
For sure. 100%, man. So kind of like way back, I'll start you. Grew up really poor. Like bathroom was a bucket poor, right? And I always knew at a pretty early age that I was going to be entrepreneurial. I just knew that I needed to do something different for my life to just like move out. And so as soon as I turned 18, I moved away. I opened up a recording studio. So that was my first ever company. I went and got a bachelor's in music production and thought that that was going to be like I thought that was going to be my career. Like I was going to own a studio and like that was my life.
what kind of music were you
producing? And I was doing hip hop, country, a lot of like faith-based, like Christian music.
Awesome.
But it was like wide range, right? Which is funny because it's not much different than my agency now, which is great. But my dad passed away when I was 20. And this was kind of like, I'm 18 years old when I create this recording studio. He passes away and it just like stopped my life. I was like, oh man, like this, I wasn't expecting that, like, speed bump, if you will. And so I was no longer motivated. I didn't want to do the studio. I didn't feel like that was like for me at the time anymore. So I closed the studio and I went to work for Apple. And I feel like Apple really was kind of the incubator, if you will, for like the rest of my life. I learned a lot about business acumen and leadership and ended up being a corporate sales trainer. I was loving it. It's easy to sell an Apple product because it sells itself. But went and did that, was doing grand openings for Apple and was having a lot of fun. And then I got a phone call from an old church friend who said, hey, I'm marrying this Navy SEAL. Have you heard of him? His name is Luttrell. And I was like, no, like I haven't, like candidly. And at the time he had just wrote a book. It was a New York Times bestselling called Lone Survivor. And then a couple years later, Mark Wahlberg played him and they made a big motion picture, called Lone Survivor. Yeah. And it's all about Marcus's story and kind of like, he went and fought in war and unfortunately an operation didn't go well, Operation Red Wing, and everyone in the mission died except for him. He was literally the lone survivor. And so they said, hey, Marcus wants to tell his story. He wants to keep the legacy of the brotherhood alive and tell their stories. And so they did a big speaking tour and they said, hey, would you be open to helping us with some design stuff? Like I was just a creative person and they knew I was a creative person. They're like, can you do this? And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I'll say yes. And so it started off as that. A lot of graphic design, a lot of t-shirt printing, a lot of promotional products, went on tour with these guys. And then they called me and actually said, hey, like, do you want to work full time for us? And I was like, no, but yes. And so my team at Apple said, hey, like go. Your job is always available if you want it. And so I stepped out. I opened up my first agency. At the time, it was called Andrew Brockenbush Creative Consulting. Super easy to remember, right? And so we started off like that. And then that just kind of snowballed into what it is today.
Cool.
Yeah, man.
And so then from there, that agency evolved.
Yeah.
And nowadays, I know you work with a range of different kinds of businesses. You work with local businesses. You work with also brands as a fractional CMO.
That's right.
Yeah. So tell me more about that. Like, tell me about your work these days. And
yeah, for sure.
What are you leaning into right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So the evolution really was, from like working with Marcus, that kind of led into a lot of other really great relationships. One of them was David Goggins. And Goggins was a really cool one because, super legend. I learned a lot in that relationship because it was early in my agency. I was still undervaluing myself and my team. And I remember I sent them a proposal to do branding for them. It's like $3,500. And I was like, yes, $3,500. Like, we're going to get it. And they declined it. They worked with us on social media. They worked with us on video and merchandising. But we were like, why didn't you use this for the branding? And Goggins' wife said, everyone else that quoted us was $20,000. You were $3,500. I was like, oh my gosh. And she said, the next time you send a proposal, I want you to send it for $10,000. Just see what happens. And that year I closed like 5 $10,000 branding jobs. And I feel like that was like when I first kind of started valuing myself and my capabilities, and that grew everything, which was really cool. And then we started working with med spas and wedding venues and, local service companies and helping them. As I kind of like grew my skills, it was like, all right, I'm not just a designer anymore. Now I'm going to learn SEO, and I'm going to learn social media management and paid ads and all of the things, right? Us agency owners love to do it all, right?
So you went generalist.
I went generalist, wide range of clients, wide range of services. I'd say our core service was websites. It always has been, still is a big part of our business to this day. Anything from a local company that needs a website, and we just did 2 university websites this year. So it's like a pretty wide range of like types of sites. But what I noticed in the last few years was that clients have this love language that I don't think we always like realize or appreciate. And I started churning, started losing clients. And I was like, you love me. I love you. Like, why are you leaving? Like, why would you want to quit, right? And come to find out, like, they just weren't seeing me enough. And my like love language is not like quality time, or even like words of affirmation. Yeah. And so it's just like, I thought it was like understood that like we're good, and if you need me, I'd be there. And so once I understood that, it really changed the dynamic of our company, because I realized that the consulting and that side was so much more valuable because of the relational component of it, right? And I actually like that a lot more, because it's not just like do this thing and then once we're done, we walk away. It's like, no, like we're partners in this together. Like, what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want for your business? Like, I kind of always talk about this, like we create businesses for freedom, but a lot of times I feel like what we actually do is create prisons for ourselves, where we're like,
for sure,
like, oh
we trade one ball and chain.
Exactly. It's like, oh, great. You created yourself a job, right? And so I'm really like focused on helping business owners find that freedom again, right? We actually, last year, we built a full like overland truck with a rooftop tent and like all the cool accessories. And we call it the Beefy Marketing Adventure Vehicle, because we wanted to show our clients, like, you can have freedom in your business. Like, you can disconnect from the things that you're doing, but you have to figure out how to delegate. You have to figure out how to like be better with your time, all the things, right? So that's kind of what got us to where we're at now.
Cool.
Yeah.
So for the clients that really are able to do that effectively and do that well, even for you guys,
yeah,
like when you think about that, what separates the ones that are successful at doing this versus the ones that are not? Like, what's the difference between the ones that get success and can step away?
Yeah.
And like, how have you done that for your own agency?
For sure. Yeah. I think there's like 2 big things that come to mind. One is like just being an action taker, right? So many people talk about what they're going to do and what they want to accomplish, but then whenever you hold them accountable and check in a week, it's like, so did you do that thing? And it's like, no.
The follow through.
Like, you have to follow through, right? And you can't, I'm going to talk about it in my presentation today.
You schedule your calendar?
Yes.
Like, put everything in there?
I got an assistant at the beginning of this year, which is the best decision I ever made. All of my days blocked, time blocked. I'm very intentional with my time. Like, when I go to the gym, like I have a day, Wednesdays are like content days. Like, I only do content on Wednesdays, whether it's webinars, live streams, social media content, blog posts, podcasts, you name it. Like, Wednesdays is that day.
Yeah.
And it's a non-negotiable. Like, I try not to take sales calls those days. I try not to do anything but content, right? And so I think part of it is follow through, right? And then I think the next part is accountability. I had never worked with a coach before. 13 years of my business, I never worked with a coach. And I hired my first coach last year.
Nice.
Best decision I ever made. Like, I genuinely mean that. I hired a group of like kind of an agency consulting mastermind kind of group.
Yeah.
And it was crazy transformative. Not just for me, but like my sales team changed, like the whole dynamic. And now I've got 4 coaches, which is wild. It's like, is that too much? But like, I don't think so. I've got somebody who's my like leadership coach.
Okay.
Got a fractional CFO who helps me on the finance side.
Solid.
I just looked at the areas of my life that I feel like
what are the other 2?
The other one is operations and then sales.
Okay.
Did I miss one? Leadership, operations, sales, and finance.
So you're in the fast lane.
Yeah.
And how did you identify the people you wanted to coach you for each of those key 4 areas?
Going to events. I know that sounds like cliche or whatever, but like that was it. Like, I wanted to meet the people that I was going to work with and spend time with them and understand, like, do our core values align? Like, do we speak the same language? Like, what matters to you? Does it matter to me? Like, we don't have to be 100% in sync.
Yeah.
I think you can learn a lot from the people around you that are different than you. But I still want to work with people that I understand, like, think that get it.
Yeah.
I don't want to work with people that I feel like we just don't align, right? Because it's like, I'm going to constantly be thinking about that. I'm going to be distracted from the thing that I want to accomplish out of it. So it was going to events, meeting people. Some of it was being pushed out of my comfort zone. My salesperson is actually the one that like forced me to hire the first one. He's like, dude, this could be really good for us. And I'm like, yeah, but it's a lot of money. And he's like, yeah, but I think it's going to be really good for us. And I was like, all right, I'll commit to a year. And then not even 6 months later, I hired like the second and then the third. And then this year, the 4th.
Wow.
And it's just like, because I saw that there was like a hack or a shortcut in areas of my life that I just didn't feel like I was strong.
Yeah.
Right?
And you feel like you got the ROI from making those investments. So
100%.
And which area do you feel like it emerged first? Was it on the sales side?
Sales side
That's
first.
where it started?
Yeah, sales first, because it like changed how we were approaching sales. Like for a long time, we were like buffet, right? Like, oh, you want to work with us? Cool. Check out all of these things that we can do for you.
Yeah.
Oh, we could do this. We could do that.
So now what is it?
Now it's like, you need this. It's very prescriptive, right? Sure, we could do this, 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 and this. But if I give them all of that, they're going to have like paralysis and they're not going to make a decision. So I don't want to give them too much. It's like, this is the thing we're going to start with.
Is it the same for everyone, or is it
always
kind
tailored? Always tailored.
Okay.
So we kind of have some like bundled packages that we've built that we feel like really serve most people that we talk to, but it is still very tailored to that individual client, right?
Solid.
And it's just that started it. And then the leadership, I think for me, was the next biggest one, because we're a small team, but I felt like as a leader, I didn't have anybody who like set that standard for me in my childhood. So I didn't know what it meant to be a good leader other than just like observing, you know, the people that I saw that I look up to. But not always the people that you look up to are the best leaders, right?
Yeah,
like, but you don't see it until you're kind of in it. It was actually like a few months ago, actually, we churned out a couple clients and it was really like rough for the business. Like in the sense that we were like, it's just like a morale, you know, like hit where you're just like, man, we're doing so good. Like, why did we lose that? And the way I was able to handle that situation, my salesperson actually came to me and said, bro, like a year ago, if this would have happened, he's like, you would have been like texting me at 3 a.m. We'd have been like freaking out, be like, what do we? And I just didn't like look at it that way anymore. It's like, cool, there's nothing we can do about that. What can we learn from what happened there? What can we do differently next time? And what are we going to do about it going forward, right? Where a year ago, I would have freaked out. I'd just been like, I'm going to go get a job at Chick-fil-A, you know? Like, but I don't think like that anymore, right? Like I try to stay focused.
When the general panics, the troops panic.
Oh, 100%.
And so at the top, even if you're feeling whatever you're feeling emotionally, it's so important to find that equanimity and be a transformational leader.
Yeah.
So could you give, for listeners who are maybe resonating with that, I think every agency owner can relate to this. We all churn clients. We all have clients come and go. What did you do to find that Tao? And let's say from that example, from losing those clients, how did you bring that back to the team to push them forward in a way to get them to level up and improve so that the next client, the net new next client, has a less of a chance of churning?
Yeah, for sure. I think part of it is like being willing to be transparent with your team and be vulnerable with your team, but also not like let them see everything. So I think sometimes like as CEOs, like we have a lot that like we have to guard a little bit, because if we allow them to see everything, like people freak out, like you said, right? Like people are just like, they're overwhelmed and then they feel like their morale is affected by how I'm feeling. But I still want to be transparent. It's like, hey guys, last week was rough. Let's talk about it. Like we should air this out. I'm going to say what went wrong, what went right, and I want to celebrate what went right versus just focusing on what went wrong. One of the things my leadership coach really encourages that I think really helped throughout this whole kind of season was keeping a daily wins journal. I think that if I asked any entrepreneur like, hey, what went wrong this week? Everybody could list out everything. What went right this week? They would have a much harder time identifying those things because we're so caught up in the things that didn't go our way.
Yeah.
And so
do you do that with your team?
I do that with the team.
Awesome.
And so being able to get on the call, like we do a weekly team sync, everyone goes around the table, like share a win. Like shout out someone on the team that helped you this week, right?
Love that. Yeah.
So we talked about it. We were vulnerable in the moment. We said, hey, like this sucked. Here's what we can do and this is what we're going to do to fix it. And for us, a big part of it goes back to that love language thing, like just showing up in the way that the clients want us to show up. And I think that starts like in the onboarding. Like, how does this person respond to feedback? How does this client, you know, like what is their love language, right? Like, how do they want us to show up for them? If we can figure that out, like as employees, as agency owners, I think we can show up in a much better way. Whether it's, oh, you just want a weekly call? Cool, easy. Like, let's check that box.
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to come visit your office once a quarter? Done. Like, these are things that we can do. They're not so out of reach. We just have to find that like middle ground.
So do you survey them on their love language, so to say?
Yeah.
In the beginning?
A lot in the beginning.
How do you ask?
I think it's really just about, I think AI is great, right? So I think a lot of it you can pick up in like, you have an hour-long onboarding call and you run that through ChatGPT and say like, hey, what were the big, like based on how this person communicated, based on the questions they asked, like how do they respond, right? So I think that's an easy way to start.
Cool.
I think the second way is just like being straight up. Like, how can I show up for you? Like, what does success look like? Like, if you had the perfect relationship with an agency, especially because like most agency owners have worked with a bad agency or have had a negative experience, it's like, hey, what about that relationship did you not appreciate, right? I just talked to a guy this week that I closed him on the fact that he was like, well, why should I just hire another agency? I was like, well, you fired like 9. Like, you don't need another agency. Like, you need someone who's a strategist. You need someone who's going to come alongside you and be a visionary with you, but then help you implement and take action on the things that you want. And he was like, oh, great point, right? And
so that's more the fractional CMO.
Right, the fractional CMO, right?
Style, yeah.
And so I think for most people, it's just straight up asking, like what would be perfect and what went horribly wrong. The other thing that we did, there's an agency owner by the name of Chris Rodriguez.
I know Chris.
Okay, great. Yeah. So Chris shared something, I think, at an event that I was at last year, where she was talking about like basically like customer like engagement scores and like this like not NPS, but essentially, and like customer happiness score, I think is what she calls it, right? And that one for me was like transformative in the sense that it's like we lose clients sometimes that we think should be like 10 out of 10, we're not going to lose them. They're a green. And she talked about that most agencies use like a red, yellow, green. Green, happy client, they're never going to leave. Yellow, like, oh, we should make some improvements. And then red, like, this person might leave at any second, right?
Yeah.
But the problem with red, yellow, green is it's not asking all of the right questions. And so we actually hired a ClickUp implementer at the beginning of this year who helped us build a customer like happiness score in ClickUp. So every transaction we have with a client, whether it's a email or a phone call or an onboarding call, we rate that call. We score it because we want to look at the entirety of the relationship to score the potential churn versus just do we feel like everything's good, right? Like the client that we lost last year, we realized that the only reason that they canceled, same thing. They just weren't seeing me. And if I would have identified that earlier on, which is like, did we track that we've not had a call with this client in over a year? Did we have regular standing calls with this client so that they knew we were still in their corner?
Makes sense.
But because it was like out of sight, out of mind, they called me and they were like, yeah, we're talking to this other agency. And the only difference was that agency was in front of them.
Right.
That's the only difference.
Fantastic.
So,
Andrew, great insights, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing all that knowledge today. What time is your talk?
All right, so 1 o'clock today. 1 o'clock, 1:15, something like that. Yeah.
I'll try to be there, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it, man. Yeah.
Great insight.